In this Fusion 360 tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can add laser cut components to an existing 3D printed model. So this is a 3D printed clamp that can clamp on a desk. It is made of two components, the clamp part itself and then the 3D printed threaded bolt. Both of them are their own components. If I activate each of their components, I can go in and edit them in the design timeline. When I make new components for laser cutting, I want to make sure I click the top level component and activate it. Then rule number one in Fusion 360 is to create a component. Select create new component, label the component laser cut base. Before making any parts in the laser cut base, I want to add a user parameter for the thickness of the plywood that I will laser cut. In Fusion 360, you can add parameters by going to modify, change parameters, type the name PLY, then the expression will be 3 millimeters for 3 millimeter thick plywood. Select OK. Now I'm going to create a sketch on top of this clamp face right here. I'll get a rectangle by pressing R and draw a rectangle. I'll dimension this 200 by 150. I want the rectangle centered on the clamp, so select the horizontal vertical constraint. If I hold the Shift key, I can get the midpoint of this line and then select the origin. Then to center it on the origin this way, I can do the same thing. Hold the Shift key. I'll get the little diamond for the midpoint and then select the origin. Now this is fully constrained. I do want to know where these circles are for the bolt holes. So if they don't come through in the extrude, which they do, then you can always project them in. So now I'm going to go up PLY and press OK. Now I have a laser cutting component that I can use as a base, and it has holes that I can bolt into my 3D printed clamp. I want to probably add some sides to this. So I'll make a simple laser cut box. To do that, go to the top level component, create a new component. We'll call this side. I'm going to create a sketch right on the edge of the laser cut base. Then make a rectangle, R. Make this point here coincident with the bottom of the rectangle. Then give the rectangle a height, let's say 50. Now I want to add some finger joints to the rectangle. So press R and I'll add two finger joints, one there and one here. I want these to be equal size. So I'll use the equal constraint, click this line and this line. Those are now equal. I'll dimension one of them, let's say 30. Then I want them to be centered. There are many ways to do this. I can draw an L from here, click, and then draw one more L. So now there are two L's going to the midpoints. These are lines. Press escape. And then if I select the equal constraint, I can make both of them equal. And then if I make this point here over the midpoint of the origin, those will be centered there. So now these are equal and centered. The only thing I need to do now is give it a dimension. So I think I'll go ahead and give this a dimension of the same 30 millimeters. And if they don't have the proper height, and for some reason they don't lock onto that line, you can double check by giving it a dimension. Here it says it's over constrained, so I don't need to give a dimension. But you want to make sure that this dimension is exactly ply. Then I want to click these lines that are centering it and press X to make them construction lines. This means that they won't interfere with making the extrusion. So all these lines we want to not be real lines. Finish the sketch, press E to extrude. And if I orbit to the side, I want to go negative ply because this will go into the other object. Press OK. So now I have an object that is ready to be the side of the other piece. I'll go up to the top level component. And since I'm right on the middle of this, I can mirror this over. But let's say you're not in the middle. You can make a midplane, construct midplane. And then I'll select this edge and this edge. So now I have a midplane in the middle. Then create, mirror, object type, components, I'll select the side. Then the mirror plane will be this mid plane. Of course, I could have used the mid plane because I'm centered on the origin, but that's not always the case. Then I'll press OK. Now I have this side over here. Now let's draw in the front and back sides. Create a new component. We'll call this front. And I'm going to create a sketch. I'll orbit around to the front right here, and I'll draw right on the front of the bottom face. This is an easy rectangle to draw because I'll draw from this edge to this edge, and then I just need to make sure it's coincident. Often it won't be coincident, so if you can drag it around like this, select the point, then the coincident constraint, and select this top line. That should lock that down. Next, we just need to add some finger joints. So add some rectangles to the bottom and two rectangles to the side. These two side rectangles I'll make equal. And since there's only one, it's very easy to go ahead and make the midpoint. So I'll click one line there, and now this is centered right on the midpoint. I can do the same thing here. As you can see, I can click either line. This is the short line, and then this is the long line. Now it's centered on the midpoint. But as you can see, often Fusion does not give this constraint. So if you have this just slightly off, it looks like it's there, that's going to give you a bad result with laser cutting. So we want to make sure we click one of these points, make it coincident with this line right there. And then the same thing on this side. This is so close, but this will cause lots of problems with laser cutting. Select the point, and then right there. I can give this a dimension of 20. So now I have those two pieces are equal and fully constrained. Here, I'll give these a dimension of 30, and I'll make them equal. Select this line and this line, and now they're equal. And I can do the same trick I did on the side. Click an L, and then an L. So that's two lines. And then the vertical constraint, we want the point here to be right above the origin. So now that is centered. And then we can make this dimension also equal to 30. And this one be equal to this one. So now those are centered. And if we think 30 is too big, we can always bring this down to 25. And lastly, we want to make sure we change these to construction lines. Select the line and then press X. This is not necessary, but it makes it easier to extrude. Select the line, press X, select the line, X. Press E to extrude. You can select the entire face, orbit to see which way to go. Once again, negative ply. Press OK. Once again, I can make a mid-plane, but in this case, I'm not going to make a mid-plane because I'm already centered on the origin. But if you're not, you can make a mid-plane. Then, before creating the mirror, I want to activate the top level component. Create, mirror, select components, this component. The mirror plane will be the mid-plane. As you can see, convenient to draw right on the mid-plane, and then press OK. So now I have all the pieces for my box, but I still have pieces that are intersecting. To fix this, I'll use the Combine tool. It's under Modify, Combine. First, I need the target body. This is the body you're cutting into in Fusion 360. So I want to cut into the base. Then the tool bodies, I want all the sides. And I want the operation to be cut. And if I don't click Keep Tools, then Fusion 360 will get rid of the sides. I want to keep them and press OK. Now, the bottom is all cut out. If I select this side here and I hide it, you can see that the bottom is cut out perfectly. And what's great about this, Fusion 360 will update the sides of those cuts if you change their sides. Now I just need to cut out the holes on the side, combine. The target body will be this one. Tool bodies will be the front and the back. Keep the tools, okay. And then I need to do one more operation for this side. Modify. This will be the target body, then the tool bodies will be the front and the back. And keep the tools, okay. Generally, I'll do these combine operations at the very end just to keep everything organized. As you can see, everything is a different component. It has a different color. And now we're ready to lay everything flat and prepare it for laser cutting. Hopefully, this allows you to add laser cut parts to a 3D printed object in Fusion 360. Happy 3D modeling!